in your studio, your office, and it's a pleasure to be here. And
Well, thanks. Yeah, thanks for coming all the way down.
No, thank you.
Brought the Scottish weather with you, thankfully.
We have. It's
Nice and
absolutely
sunny.
beautiful, and we're going to have to keep that door open because this is going to become as we were talking about Mike Tyson before, a hot box, you know. But yeah, thank you for having us. We've got Rob here on the cameras in the video, and it's a pleasure to be here. Hopefully, I hope the family are going to turn up at some point. I've seen them on Instagram. I've heard about the stories, the travels. We want to get into it all. But firstly, as we sit here, and we just discussed it, but let's get it on the show. This picture we've got of you when you're looking windswept and beaten, what challenge was that? Give us a bit of background to what that picture's from.
I should address the elephant in the room, which is this elephant. No. This is a massive oil painting of me, which I tried to have in our bedroom, and Caroline was like, that is not happening. So, no, an artist, Caroline de Percave, she approached me after I finished Swimming Britain back in 2013, might have been the beginning of 2014, and she said, "Oh, do you want to come and sit for an oil painting?" I was like, "Yes, please." I mean, who gets that opportunity?
Yeah.
I thought, well, this is my moment. It's never going to happen again. So I thought, right. So I went down to London and sat for a couple of days, and yeah, I just wanted a photo to represent the end of Swimming Britain, and then I think she thought she was going to sell it. She's like, "Oh, he's been on telly. Oh, I'll buy it. Someone will buy it." And no one bought it. So she messaged me.
Please take it.
5 years later. She said, "I'm cleaning out the studio. Do you want it?" I was like, "Yes, please."
No, but in this study, there's so much memorabilia. Is this just stuff you've gathered? Obviously, achievements, world records. What have we got on the walls around here?
Yeah, so it's just stuff I've picked up over my travels and as a kid. Stuff I've got, and little toys I had from when I was like 2 years old. Old cameras, map shelf, trinkets I've collected, and then that's sort of my ego board. Whenever I'm feeling a bit sorry for myself, I come in here and go, "Oh, I was once came second in the cheese rolling competition in Gloucestershire," which I still think is my biggest achievement ever. So, I just want to, just at the beginning when I first started doing this stuff, I was sort of like, "No, all the press stuff is rubbish and it's not important. You should do it for the love of it," which is true. I definitely do it. I don't do it for that. But then, I know my kids are going to be like, "Oh, I want to read some stuff about you." And I was like, "Oh, actually, to be fair, I should keep all the press things. And then at least they get to read about it. And I've got a trunk of loads of other stuff." Because I didn't know my grandparents, really. All four of them died before I really had sort of any meaningful conversations with them. My mum's dad lived a little bit longer, but she lived in a different country. And they led these amazing lives. Like, two of them caught the ferry from England and Ireland to Africa. And, I wish they'd had scrapbooks or Instagram because it would have been awesome, right? Our parents lived much more, or our grandparents lived much more hardcore lives than we do.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, let's park my sort of, I'm above all this press stuff and just say, well, I'll keep it. It's fun. And, my son is getting to an age where he comes in here and he goes, "Oh, it's Daddy," So we, hopefully it inspires him to carry on doing something with his life.
Are they the drive to keep going? Are they
At
the
the
drive?
moment, yeah.
Yeah, to keep doing these incredible things.
At the beginning, it was probably to find a wife. And then it was to have some cool pub stories.
Uh-huh.
And now it's to... Well, actually, I have this scenario in my head of my teenage boys going, "Oh, Dad, my fingers hurt from playing the guitar. It's really painful." I was like, "You don't know pain, boy."
You've got a few of those stories.
Yeah, exactly. So I sort of have this like grand idea of my teenage kids sort of going, "Wow, Dad, you're so cool," but all my friends as teenage kids say it's never going to happen.
It's the other way around. But I work quite hard on that. I'm not out doing the adventures and things that you are, but even as a dad, then anybody can work hard to build that relationship where your kids don't think you're an asshole. They don't think you're just a pain in the neck or embarrassing.
Yeah.
You're out there smashing records, and obviously the reason I am here is to find out and for you to announce what you're going to be taking on next, and we'll get to that. But the things that you've achieved, and as your kids get older and point at the wall, why has Dad got that painting up, and why did Dad design himself as a lion? Well, he looks like one. He's good at Photoshop, but these sort of pictures of their dad, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Who else's dad's like that?
Yeah, I mean that is sort of, that really does get me out of bed each day. I get a massive kick out of that, absolutely. I am still going to be embarrassing. Oh yeah, I think it's a father's prerogative to be embarrassing to their kids. You know, and I'll sort of, I've already planned it. You know, my kid's gonna have his like 12th birthday party. There's gonna be a bouncy castle, and I'm gonna come out in my speedos and get in the ice bath. You're like, Dad.
What? But your kids, what have you got, little boy and
2 boys. Yeah.
Two boys.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna have the boyfriend turning up at the door to take the girl on a date, but you've got the boy.
Yeah.
You got to teach the boys to be men. You got to teach the
Absolutely.
boys to go out and
be
respect.
Be gentlemen. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Oh yeah, I'm gonna crack that whip. Don't worry.
So there's the embarrassing side of it, but there's the bringing them up right.
Yeah.
It's the
Well, I think every parent wants that, right?
Yeah.
You know, every parent wants that. And I sort of, what I'm bad at is sort of having a philosophy and talking about it. What I'm good at is just doing it. So I've decided, you know, because a lot of people sort of do what I do. They sort of manage to do something and then package it up in some sort of philosophy and then promote the philosophy. You know, and if you think of anyone who's sort of in my, I guess I get classed as an adventurer, but really I'm a non-professional ultra endurance athlete. So in the world of adventure, you've got exploration on one side, where you maybe go off and do sciencey things, or you know, if you take a day off, it doesn't really matter because you're going and exploring. Whereas on my side, and it's people like Mark Beaumont as well, we're on the sort of the sport side where it's just trying to break records that have a huge physical element to it. So everyone in this sphere will have some sort of philosophy that they try and promote. I'm pretty bad at that. I'm sort of terrible at going, well, I swam the length of Britain. Now, what I've learnt is this, and what you should do. Of course, I have learnt stuff, and I'm happy to talk about it. But I don't have like sort of a hashtag and a package where I can just say, well, this is my thing. Whereas what I am good at is just doing more of it. And then hopefully people are intelligent enough, which they are, to just take whatever they want. I don't have to sort of throw this down their throat type thing. Yeah. And I find that works for me, which is why I sort of do stuff over and over again and do more stuff and try and do something harder and more difficult and blah, blah, blah. So eventually, you know, because I'm 41 now, at some point I'm not going to be able to break records. It's still going to be for a while, but I just want to sort of capitalize on that now, really. And then maybe I'll change my mind and do the philosophy thing.
But yeah, you might have to. What was the first record you broke?
Well, I don't know. Apparently I was the first person to climb Kilimanjaro dressed as a penguin, which is what I call a pink helmet record. So a pink helmet world record is someone who goes, oh, I was the first person to row the Atlantic wearing a pink helmet because everyone else wore a blue one. And
that came up, I mean, because you came on the show pre-COVID, but was that not getting drunk in a bar with the guys? And you decided...
Yeah, so the penguin story is, there were 7 of us going up. We were all raising money for the African Wildlife Fund. And I thought, well, to get more press, we've got to do some sort of publicity stunt. And I thought, how cool would it be if we all went up dressed as some sort of animal, because it's for the Wildlife Fund. And then I said, oh, you know, what's the most unlikely animal to go up Everest? And penguin was one of them. And I thought, how cool would it be if we, like, waddling, because, you know, penguins walking away. And I thought it would have been brilliant. And in my head, everyone was like, yeah, Sean, that's awesome. But what they were saying is, yeah, Sean, whatever, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I went through with it, turned up on day one, and I was the only one with this darn penguin suit.
That did it.
I nearly pulled out, because what I didn't want to do is to devalue everyone else's attempt, because there's thousands of people on the mountain at any one time.
Mm-hmm.
I think 25,000 people a year climb it. So what I didn't want is someone to have, trained really hard, because it's high, 6,000 meters. You can't just walk up. Some people can if you're lucky with altitude, but I didn't want to sort of belittle their attempt by just waddling up. So I nearly pulled up, and I thought, actually, well, I've raised money for charity. Let me do it. And thankfully, it had the opposite effect. Everyone was like, "Bloody hell! If a penguin can do it, I can do it." So
you motivated people.
Yeah. So that was a fun challenge. And that was still while I was living my old life. So, but the first actual record, and what I guess we can talk about is, because for 10 years I chased the 3 Fs of endurance: world's firsts, furthest, and fastest. And I failed in the round the world bike record. So the first one I got was the swim, really. Yeah, first person to swim Land's End to John O'Groats.
And so round the world bike, was that to break Mark's record, or was it?
I think 2 or 3 people had already broken marks.
Right. Okay.
Who surprisingly they just went under the radar. So I think James Bowthorpe, I'm going to get this wrong, did it after Mark. Then Julian, Sarah, I think he did it then as well. Then there was Vin Cox versus Alan Bate, and that controversy because Alan did it partially supported,
Okay.
but he was trying to get Guinness to have 2 records, a supported and unsupported one. So he wasn't trying to, a bit like Mark doing it fully supported now. It was all above board, but unfortunately Guinness, there's too much grey area. Like if someone gives you a banana on the side of the road, are they supporting you? I don't know. So eventually, I think Mark came in. Vin Cox came in at like 2 days before Alan Bate did, but Alan was 30 days ahead of Vin. So Vin held the record for a couple of days, and then Alan broke his record.
Okay.
And then that's when Vin decided to try and make this global bike race in 2012, which is the first ever bicycle race around the world. And then that's when me and 12 people all started on the same day. 9 of us started in the same location because you could start wherever you want, but it kind of made it more fun if it was in Greenwich on the Meridian, in the park. So that was kind of fun. So by that time, so Mark's record was what? 198 days, somewhere there, but 200 anyway. It was down at 120 or something by the time I went for it. I think the understanding was with everyone, whoever broke the record, and Mike Hall, who did break the record, we were all going for sub 100 days pretty much. So trying to half Mark's record. And
you mentioned earlier, you said in the previous life. What was the previous life before Kilimanjaro, before World Records attempt? What were you doing? What kind of guy were you?
I was in I dreamt when I was sort of like 11, 12, I got into photography, and I just dreamt of being this amazing National Geographic photographer. Like that was the dream. And I was doing okay in following the dream. Like I was very good at photography. I sort of aced sort of high school in photography. I then went to a college and did photography for a year, and then I got asked by the college to teach for the following year in photography, and then I came to the UK and then was doing really well in the early days. I worked on the Harry Potter films, photographed Prince William, getting some really cool jobs. Had an outdoor catalogue shoot in India, so everything was going well. And then I think, how old was I when it all went wrong? 23, 24? A friend of a friend was a parent at a nursery school, and their photographer dropped out, and sort of through the grapevine, it was like, oh, Sean, and I had a business partner, James Carnegie. Sean and James do photography. I'm sure they can come in and photograph the kids for you. And I remember getting the phone call, and it was like a Wednesday, and we had nothing on. We're like, well, we'll help out our mate because, it's not our thing, but we'll go and do it anyway. I think there were 100 kids in this nursery. So we went in, took a white background and played around. And it was kind of fun, getting the kids to jump in the air and, be a cheeky monkey and whatnot. Went home, we finished shooting about 2. We'd probably done all the Photoshop that evening and the following day just to get the contrast up and make the background whiter and all that. Made some contact sheets, sent them to the parents, and then just kind of forgot about it because it was all sort of order on the form with pen and paper, and you send a check through, and we had our address there, and we're like, well, when the orders come in, we'll deal with it, but whatever. Went back into it. We were at the time we were sort of really making inways into the music photography scene in London, so photographing for a few music magazines, going to gigs. It was really fun. You sort of got a free ticket to go to Brixton Academy and everywhere just to photograph some cool bands. And then I remember it took about 2 weeks. All of a sudden the postman came and he's like, dropped 3 envelopes off, and then the next day like 5, and then the next day like 25, and then all of a sudden we had like probably 60 envelopes of orders, and we're like, okay, and we opened them up. The first order was like 20 quid, next one 50 quid, 100 quid. I was like, what? Anyway, that 100 kids at that nursery, I think we turned over like £2,000. And I was 23 years old, and I was like, we've just earned £2,000, and it's taken us a day.
Uh-huh.
And James and I just went ka-ching, and that was the slow downfall of the photography, really, where we just stopped doing anything creative. We stopped doing the music stuff because, a magazine, for example, would send us to Brighton to photograph some indie band down in Brighton, and they're like, well, we'll pay your train fare and we'll give you 50 quid. And then a nursery would phone us and say, you want to come photograph 100 kids? We're like, well, obviously we're going to do the kids, And that's a terrible decision, because eventually, fast forward 7 or 8 years, we were photographing 10,000 kids a year. We had 7 staff. We were operating in sort of Birmingham and the Midlands, in London and the Channel Islands randomly, because James was from the Channel Islands. And we had this, we had an office, it was like a proper thing, and for a while that was enough, like, oh, I'm a successful photographer. I'm self-employed. So, by the age of 25, I was fully self-employed. I was working in a photo lab and cutting my days down. But by the time I was 25, 26, I think I was managed to go full-time as a photographer, which is pretty rare, and I got a kick out of that. You would, like, oh, I'm a self. What do you photograph? Well, we do some music every now and then, guys. It's pretty awesome, And actually, I did one band every 6 months, and the rest of the time was parents moaning that we'd made their kid ginger.
But in the back, was there any marathon running? Was there?
Oh no, zero.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Didn't own a pair of trainers for my entire 20s, pretty much. I lied. When I cycled Land's End to John O'Groats was in 2008, and that was the first time I'd done anything even active, since I was 18, pretty much. So at school, I went to school in South Africa, which is sport mad. Sport's a religion, and it's compulsory at school. You have to do two sports a term. There's a main sport, like everyone had to do athletics, everyone had to do swimming, and everyone had to do rugby or cricket or hockey. And then there was another season because we had 4 terms, you had to do something else. And then you had to choose another one. So I got into canoeing in my teens, which was quite fun. Sort of marathon canoeing, the long slot. Sort of, they look like sprint canoes, but you go down rivers. But stopped that at 18, got into photography. And that was it, really, all the way through. So, yeah, when I was 28, 2008, 28, that was the first time I'd done anything, really.
Speaking of birthdays and ages, you've just had your 41st birthday. That's no secret. You put it on Instagram.
Yeah.
But
ran my age in kilometres.
You ran your age in kilometres, 41 kilometres on the day.
Yeah.
How does that give your wife time to set up the cakes, the balloons, sort the kids out, wrap the presents and stuff like that? Because it's unconventional. Not everyone's out there running their birthday. And how have you done it forever?
I've started it in my late 30s, but didn't really. I just did it on my own, and that was before we had kids. And then my 40th, I thought, right, I'm going to start doing it properly now, and I'm going to Strava it just so it's
legit.
Official,
it's real. It's out there.
That's the world we live in, unfortunately. So on my 40th, I got up super early. I think I got up 5 a.m. and then I was done by. I'm pretty slow. I stop in a cafe, and it's just a bit of fun. I'm not trying to break any records. I think I was done by sort of 11-ish with a stop, and then my wife and the kids came and joined me, picked me up, and we went and had a little. I think we even had champagne. I think Caroline's like, "It's your birthday, we're having champagne." I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
So is it usually? Do you usually go 40 kilometers, 41 miles from the house, and they come and meet you, or do you sometimes loop it? Or?
No, so I've only done it twice since we've been here. And I did. I just run away from here, and then they come and pick me up, and then we go and have. We sit on the beach because I can get to the coast pretty quickly from here, and then they'll pick me up. And I'm quite strict on it. I'm like 42k, 41k. Right, I'm I'm on the side of the road. Pick me up. I'm not running a meter further.
And next year, do you think will you do the same route and go an extra kilometre? Or
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Only because I'm heading towards Conway, the town of Conway.
Oh, and how far is that?
I don't know. I don't want to know. I just want to.
You're going to be 70.
Yeah, exactly. I want to know when. It's not far. I'm probably 15 years away from it. Yeah. Maybe. So I'll be sort of mid-50s when I eventually hit Conway, and I kind of like that. I kind of like having. And it's the reason I like this sort of long-term goal. Like, it's a goal that's going to take decades to do.
Yeah.
And I like that. Because, and I get caught up in it. You want results yesterday, and that's just the world we live in. And but I kind of like doing something where I don't know where the end is. And I've already decided I'll probably move over to cycling at some point. And when is that going to be? 75, 80? Probably a bit earlier than that, really. Because will I give my... Yeah, I may change the rules. I might get to 60 and go, right, well, I can do it over 2 days with a sleep, maybe. But I'll still go, and I'll have... Because if I'm really slow, if my knees are knackered...
I'm not going to challenge my maths here, but... Because I played a lot of rugby in my time, and a lot of rugby players' goals are sometimes to get their oldest son to play rugby with them.
Oh, wow.
Could there be a time when your boys are at a certain age that they could run 60k with you? Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to do the 20 years on.
No, I'm 40. I was 39 when I had my first child, so
maybe they cycle it with you. Maybe they cycle it with you. You could,
so
maybe those birthday miles, birthday kilometers in the future.
Yeah, so I wonder how old they... I mean, it's likely they'll... The Conways don't live very long, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
No. I think the record from my dad's side is like 72 in the last 100 years or something.
Okay.
It's pretty bad.
but what about that? Like, you're take it all year round. You're ready to go.
No.
Are you?
No.
But are you building up to that birthday, or are you just grinding that out on your birthday?
Depends what else I'm doing at the time.
Yeah.
But I'm all or nothing. Yeah. So if I'm not training for anything, Caroline jokes. She's like, I do more sport than you do. I'm like, well, it's true. You do.
Yeah.
I need to do nothing for 6 months. And when I mean nothing, genuinely, I might do a couple of Joe Wicks with Caroline in the mornings, so it's a bit of fun. Get the kids involved. But yeah, I'll because what happens is I then get the fire again, because I quite like training for something, but I don't want to keep training all year round to make training boring when I need it. So, and I always regret it. It's a terrible decision. Don't do it.
So does diet go out the window? Do you eat what you want?
I mean, I eat pretty healthy anyway, to be fair. So we do one of these subscription meals where they send you all the fresh ingredients every week. So we do that. So we eat pretty healthy most of the time. And but no, definitely fitness. I mean, I'm active anyway, but I don't have a training plan. So I'll go. So there's a cycle element in my next challenge. Yeah. And since 2018, all we've done is our honeymoon was cycle touring around Cuba, but it was so hot we hardly cycled. And then I did a couple of rides that are about 50k, 2 or 3 rides. And that's in 4 years. I've literally not been on the bike at all.
Not been on a bike.
Yeah, because I want to get the hunger again. And I'm a bit of a monkey terrier. And I like trying loads of different things all the time until I find the thing I get the red mist for, and then I'm like, rah! and then, but you can't do forever because you burn out. And then after a while, then I'm back to breaking things and fixing things and trying new things. So I feel that it took me a while to sort of work out that it was those 2 character traits I had, and it took me 30 years to realize that the terrier needs feeding, and the best way to feed my terrier is to have these really difficult challenges.
But looking at 2022 and where we are sitting here, where are we? Saturday, 14th of May. January, you did the 496. And
I didn't finish it.
But you got a hell of a long way through it, and you took that on. Yeah. Tell us about that challenge, because it starts easy.
Yeah,
and it just keeps grinding.
I did it the year before and I finished it. So I was just looking for something to do. It was COVID, and I thought, well, what can I do from home that'll just get me excited about something? And I just was like throwing loads of ideas around, and I thought, well, what if on the 1st of Jan I ran 1 mile, and the 2nd of Jan 2 miles, 3 miles, and then up to 31 miles. I was like, oh, actually, it's gonna have to be kilometers, I think.
Regardless, it's still.
So I was like, right, well, let's do kilometers because that's more manageable with just the time I had and everything. And I was like, well, is this a thing? Like, it must be a thing. It was such an obvious, in my head, it was such an obvious concept. I thought, well, what is it called? And I'll do it. And then I went online, and actually, like, not people had done it. And
The
some people had
calendar
called it-
club?
yeah, or run the date, or
Okay.
but it was pretty rare. Like it wasn't an obvious thing, and I thought, oh, I'm going to make it a thing. So I just put a name on it. I called it the 496 challenge because 1 + 2 + 3 all the way to 31 is 496. And I thought, let me do that. Let's see if some people join me or not. They might do, they might not. I didn't think many people would because the back end is tough. Yeah, you reach halfway in distance on day 22. So those last 10 days,
Rough.
9 days are the same as the first 22. So
Yeah.
it's but it sucks you in because it's you sort of. You're like, oh, well, 1K, I can do 1, I can do, up to 10, you're like, and then, when you've done the 10, you're like, well, tomorrow's only a K more, I'll do tomorrow. And then by the time you sort of realize, oh, this is getting quite tough, you've committed to, it's usually around, from what I gather from people who've messaged me, it's around day 17, 18, 19, 20, that people really start, because that really starts to affect, especially if you've got a day job.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
It's tough, because then all of a sudden you're like, if you're a slow runner like me, to do 20K for me is 2.5 hours. Yeah, maybe even 3 if I, stop and take photos and whatever.
Yeah.
So if you've got a young family and that, it's tough. I mean, luckily because of COVID, I could do it in the daytime. So yeah, that. So you're 3 weeks in when you realize, so you can't quit. You're like, I've put too much energy into this. So it's become really popular. I now have medals for it.
I see it's hanging behind you there, the black one.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. But what happened this year? You say you didn't finish it. What happened?
I knew I was going away to France on the 29th or something, so I knew I was never going to finish it.
Okay.
And I was hoping to get all the way up to the 29th, but just life unfortunately got in the way, so I think I pulled the plug on 23 or something.
And that was the epic trip to France that we saw unfold on Instagram, and Colonel Mustard, the famous Landy.
Yeah, with the family.
Yeah. How was that? How was, because your post was very honest, that you could look at it in the big yellow Land Rover and the adventure and the snow, but it's a long way with kids in a car.
Yeah. And when you zoom into the picture, there's like a potty and a bed guard.
You're crying.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to stop at the... Luckily, the French have such good roadside facilities, But it was great. It was great. Took what did we do? Yeah, it took 2 full days. Yeah, which was long. I mean, next time we might do it in 3 days instead.
Spread it out a bit.
So, but it was grand, yeah. It was
but
great.
can you shut off on a holiday? I know you say you take 6 months off or you don't do it, but did you find were you out running? Were you out taking on the different elements?
Yeah, because I was still sort of training. I just thought of my idea that I'm doing this year.
Mm-hmm.
I thought of it at Christmas, but I only committed to it really in January. So it's now May, and I'm starting mid-June. So I've only had 6 months really to train, which is not a lot, not nearly enough time, unfortunately.
Okay.
So I was doing a bit of training up there. But it was still just, we had 3 years of holiday in one because we had missed a couple of years. And my son, who's 2.5, basically his whole life's been COVID.
Yeah.
So we wanted to just go away and do something that we were meant to do a couple of years before, local. But we thought, right, let's splash out, just do one long epic and make up for it. And it was great. It was great. Yeah.
It looked awesome. And obviously the way you document the stuff and the way you post your family things, it is very interesting to see how you live and how you do things. But you touched on it there, and I think it's time. I think we all need to know and delve into what your next challenge is going to be. So please do tell.
Yeah. So, well, this is the exclusive for you. So for the last 10 years, I was chasing the 3 Fs of endurance: world's first, furthest, and fastest. And I got a world record in all of those. So I was the first person to swim the length of Britain. I did the world's longest triathlon, at the time 4,200 miles. And I was the fastest person to cycle across Europe. So once I'd done those, I was sort of like, I mean, there's other adventures within those categories that I'm still excited about. But I was also a little bit like, I've done them now. I've got the records in all 3. What should I do? And anyway, this Christmas, when I thought of the idea, I realized there's a 4th category, which is the most of something. And it never crossed my mind that there was a potential another category in the world of endurance to do the most of something. And I can't tell you how annoyed I am that it doesn't start with an F. So it's the 3 Fs and the M of endurance. I was like, right, well, what can I do the most of? And I'd actually thought of this idea back in 2018, but then something else came up that I was going to do, and then COVID. So I thought, well, this year I'm going to have a crack at it, which is the most number of consecutive Ironman distance triathlons done in a row. So I am going to attempt to break the legendary James Lawrence's record, the Iron Cowboy. He's like my hero. And I want to do him proud, hopefully, and have a crack at that. And as I said, I was going to do it in 2018 when he had the record of the 50.
Yeah.
And I thought, I was living in the Lake District, and I planned a route around Coniston. I was going to swim in Coniston, cycle down to Barrow and back, and then run 2 laps of the lake, which is a marathon. So I'd already planned it, and I was hoping to do 100 as well, because he had done 50. I thought, I could do 100. But then obviously he went and did 101 last year. So I thought, right, well, I was going to do 100, now I've got to do 102. So in my head, it wasn't a big jump. I think if I was only planning 51, and now all of a sudden, I've got to do 100, maybe wouldn't have taken that as well mentally. But so that's 12th, Sunday the 12th of June this year.
So just under a month,
it
kicks off. You're going to go after that. It's a famous record now because obviously the Iron Cowboy's become a global superstar.
Yeah, I
in
mean,
endurance.
I was following him for ages, and you know, he even admits he made some mistakes when he did the 50 with doing stuff indoors and the elliptigo and that. I thought people were a bit harsh on him because he didn't try and hide it. He wasn't trying to lie or anything. He's just like, "There's a hurricane, guys. You know, I still got to do something." And it was still phenomenal. I think it's a bit like Mark Bowman's round the world cycle. It's like the cycling, that's probably 30% of it. It's just like all the admin on the other side of it, which was really impressive. So when he did the 100, you know, I knew he was going to smash it and do it, and he did. Yeah, so it's
so for people that aren't aware, I'm not sure if it's still on Netflix, but the Iron Cowboy documentary was when he did 50 Ironman triathlon across 50 states in 50 days of America.
Yeah.
I mean, that was full on. That documentary was incredible.
I watched it. It's great.
Took his family round with him.
He had
his 2 wingmen.
He's got 5 kids.
He's got 5 kids. When I saw that documentary starting and I saw the 5 kids, and then I realised they're going too.
I know.
Incredible. But
mad.
it changed his life. You know, that's a predicament in, I think, around 2008, the credit crunch and all that sort of stuff, and he needed to do something to change his... And look at him now. You know, have you been hooked since that documentary and everything he achieved then?
To be fair, I was hooked once I'd heard of the challenge.
Okay.
I didn't really, because I don't really need to watch the documentary to realize how difficult doing 50 Ironmans is in 50 states. So I was already hooked when I heard the achievement.
Okay.
All the other stuff that happened around it and after it and all that, I didn't really. In fact, I only watched the documentary like 2 years ago, probably.
Okay.
But I knew of the record. And I thought that was pretty impressive. And then I did follow the 101 last year, which was incredible.
There's been moments in sort of this podcast journey that I'm on that I've received email responses that have literally made me punch the air, phone my wife, and the Iron Cowboy was one when he got back to me and said, I'll come on your show, Nashy. It was an incredible conversation with a guy.
Yeah, I've listened to that one that you did with him. Yeah, it's awesome.
Incredible just to get into his mindset. Have you reached out to him? Does he know that you're after his record?
No, I haven't, because I'm terrified, because I'm such a super fan. I would hate. What if he sort of just goes, who's this Sean guy? He'll never make it. I'd be heartbroken.
But you've got the credentials. When he sees that you've got records, you've done what you have achieved previously.
But then, is he going to be protective over it? I doubt it. I have heard in a podcast that, he did say, whoever does it, he's going to champion it from the sideline and fly the flag. So I'll send him a message nearer the time and just say, I hope you don't mind. You've inspired me to do the 102. Thank you for inspiring me to do it.
Yeah.
And come and join me for the last one.
And what's the setup? Are Guinness aware? Have you got to register it? Have you got to let them know that you're going for it? How are you documenting it throughout the challenge?
Yes. So I registered the record with Guinness. Except his isn't on the Guinness record. So I'm a bit confused about Guinness's sort of governing of this record, because their record is something in between his 50 and the 100 by someone else, and I'm not sure.
So he's not named
I don't know at the moment, no, because they
right.
may have just not updated it. He may have not submitted.
Okay.
You know, it's quite common now. You do these Guinness records, and you have all the proof, so all your GPS data and photos and videos, but you just don't bother going through the whole paperwork.
It was interesting the way that the 50 unfolded, that there was doubters and there was people that criticised. But then his mindset says, well, I'm going to double it. I'm going to go for the 100, and then he went for the 101. Just to sort of, nobody can challenge him. There are no flaws in that. And the way he took care of the 100, and he took out all distraction, and he didn't travel the States. What are you setting up in your attempt to make this as achievable as possible? How's life going to be? 2 kids, 2 boys, Caroline, everything that's going to have to sort of work around what you're doing.
I have no idea. So when I thought of the idea, I originally thought I could road trip this, and I thought that'd be fun. And I thought of doing 6 locations around the UK, and I found them all. I found 6 swim spots, so I was going to do one up in Fort William, one down just south of Glasgow, because I needed to get to the next location.
And this isn't in a pool. This is
all open water. Yeah.
All open water.
Even the location I've got now is open water. Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to.
So weather's going to be a major factor in this.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about that in a bit. But I was going to do that. Then I was going to do Lake District. Then I was going to do somewhere in Yorkshire, East Riding, and then one in London. And then I suddenly realised, I've got a 6-month-old boy, a 3-year-old boy soon, and I just don't know if I want to be away from the family for 3.5 months. So I thought, right, let me do it from home. So I was adamant in my head. I wanted to do an open water swim. And actually, that decision became very easy because there's no pools that open early. that will open early.
Okay.
The closest private pool that I could have maybe done some arrangement with is too far away. The only other pools around here are all council, and just from experience, I think that would be, there's too many loopholes to try and jump through for that, unfortunately. I never say that. I mean, I probably could have done it, but I kind of, because it was made a little bit harder, it's kind of like, right, well, I wanted to do open water anyway. If there was no open water near me, I would have had to do a pool, but in my heart, I want to do it as close to what an Ironman would feel like for me, just personally. So an open water swim, the cycle legs, the elevations about an average Ironman, and so actually my run's much hillier than a normal Ironman. So that was important for me. I keep saying Ironman, and I know James had issues with the organisation, so I don't know what it's not an Ironman. The internet, I'm not doing an Ironman. Please don't sue me.
Well, can I say
Ironman distance?
But we called our WhatsApp group to prepare this podcast. We called that the Iron Beard.
The Iron Beard. Shall I go with that?
Can we go with the Iron Beard? Well, is the beard staying on for it? What are you doing?
Yeah, because I'm too lazy to shave, and it gives me superpowers, I think.
Use it.
No, it's staying.
It's staying.
My wife's never known me without a beard, because when we first started dating, we had we weren't allowed to search each other on the internet, and we made that. We was like, right, let's just learn about each other face to face rather than the internet, which I was thankful for, because if you look at me on the internet, I'm way cooler than I am in real life. I was like, please don't. If you look at me on the internet, you think I'm this like cool guy, but actually I'm a real idiot. So she never even seen pictures of me.
So, but what did you achieve when you met her? What?
I just finished the world's longest triathlon, so I hadn't cycled across Europe yet. Yeah.
Okay, and did you have another job at that time, or were you
still making a living from book sales and talks and sponsorship deals, which is pretty much how I make a living now, as pretty much like any sportsman.
Yeah.
But she had just lived in New Zealand for a couple of years, so I just had my 2 Discovery Channel shows, but she hadn't seen them. Great. So it was quite nice that we actually got to just know each other properly. So so she's not seen me without a beard, so I'm scared if I shave it off, she'll be like, oh.
Yeah, and was she into all your adventure? Obviously it worked, you got married and everything went well, but was that world completely new to her, or was she into adventure sports herself?
No, she's massively sporty.
Okay.
Yeah, we met riding bikes in the Lake District, so she's very adventurous and sporty. So obviously having 2 kids has put a bit of a halt to that side of things for her. But yeah, no, she'll get back on. And she's a bit like me. She likes to do loads of different things. So she likes road biking, mountain biking, climbing, hiking, skiing. The works. So yeah, we're a good match.
So how are the dynamics now in the house when she knows what you're about to take on, and you're sitting here telling me that not quite sure how that is going to work, not sure how this is going to work? Are you both kind of like that? Is she organised? Is she ready for the days where you maybe, I don't know, when the mindset goes, when the body's shaking, when you don't want to eat and you've got to eat? Is she ready?
I don't know. I think this will be
Have you discussed it?
Well, we have. So luckily I've got crew on this one. So there's going to be 2 crew members who are going to take care of me.
Okay.
So, Caroline really won't have to do anything,
Okay.
So that's important. But yeah, she's not really seen me at my lowest. When I did my Europe ride, I was sort of phoning her every day. So that was kind of nice. And, there were times where I was behind record and... Well, no, I was never behind record on the Europe ride, but I was losing time because of a headwind and it was Russian roads and that. And, so on the phone we had conversations and when I was pretty low. But no, it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be a test on our relationship because I don't think it's going to be, it's not like I'm saying, oh, bye, see you later, and I'll see you in 3 months' time. Because I'm hoping, and this is why I've chosen to stay at home, I'll get to come home at around 2 o'clock, 4:30, and around 8 o'clock. So I have 3 stops at home within the Ironman. And then so I'll hopefully be able to put the kids to bed every night, type thing.
Oh wow! So, right. So talk me through that. So the base is going to be home.
Yeah.
You'll have.
So I wake up in the morning, 5 a.m., 3:58, 4:58 even. In the car so I have to set weird numbers to make it official. So alarms at 4:58.
Right.
Be in the car at 12 minutes past.
Why do you have to set weird numbers? What?
Because if you do, it's that's specific in my head. If I say quarter past, it's like, oh, well, quarter past is kind of like, quarter past. Where if it's 12 minutes past or 13 minutes past, it's got to be exact.
Okay.
So I do that. Then down to the lake, in the water by 5:29. And then do the swim. And then from then on, I don't know what the times, because it'll be weather dependent and fatigue and whatnot. But finish the swim, get on the bike from the swim, go out and do the bike ride, finish the bike ride back here at home. If Monty's at nursery, I won't see him, so I'll do a quick changeover. If he's not at nursery, I'll maybe hang around 5-10 minutes and play, then go off on the run, do 1 lap. It's a half marathon course. Do a half marathon, come back here. Potentially, depending, I don't know how long my days are going to be yet, have a longer break with the kids, go off and do another half marathon, come back. When I say longer break, it might be, because it will normally be a sort of a 2 or 3 minute sort of get food, say hi and go off, come back for the evening. If I'm finding that midway run stop is just causing a bit of like hassle with the kids, we're like, oh, daddy's home, and then he's gone again, I might just skip it and then come home 15 minutes earlier. So I'm hoping to be done by sort of 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then I have a good hour and a half, and we all go to bed at 9. I know I'm a terrible parent, but 9 o'clock's our bedtime for everyone, and then get up and do it again. So at least I get to have the evening, bits of the evening with the kids,
We talked about, here, take this, I hope you take this the right way. We talked about Mike Tyson before we started recording, and I might even put that in the show, to be honest, because it was good. But Mike Tyson says everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. Yeah. What if the kids up through the night? Problems, dad life. Are you trying to every night slip back into dad life, or are you got a room where dad has to sleep?
Yeah, I'm still umming and ahhing on that. Yeah. So Monty's he's nearly 3 and he's only just started to sleep through the night. We've had quite an adventure with him and sleeping.
Parenthood alone, you could call every parent an adventurer, because every night, every day he's got his challenges.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I'd like to live a normal home life. So for example, I've said I'm not going to do any press or media in the evening. So because it would make sense to be the obvious time. If you want to interview me, come and see me at home after I've finished each day. So I said, no, I'm not going to do anything when I'm at home. So once I come through that front door, it's my space. if you want to interview me, I've got 7 hours on the bike. You can phone me. Oh yeah, it's much easier for me. I'll just be on the tri-bars. I can chat to my heart's content. And yeah, so I'm going to try. But obviously, if it's proving to be difficult, then I will sleep probably in the nursery, in Sebastian's nursery room.
Okay. And have you done these? You've run these routes already? You've cycled the route. You've swam the lake.
No.
Are you?
No.
Are you
I've done the run route, so I know. And so the run route involved some trails, and there was some like overhanging trees. So I went down with a chainsaw and cut the trees, so I didn't have to duck. And dug up some stones, so I won't trip. And there's a steep bit which, if it's rainy, it's super slippery. So I've tied a rope to a tree, and there's 30 meters of rope, so I can lower myself down. It was really steep, so I've sort of recce'd the run route so that I'm not going to fall over. The cycle route I've driven.
Okay.
Because I live between two valleys, so I have to go out towards Cheshire, on the Cheshire Plains, to do anything, and even the cycle route's 800 meters of climbing, and that's the flat cycle route. So I drove every route until I found something, and it's a weird loop. So I head from the lake, I go down to the bottom, I do 2 loops of a bottom loop, then I go up in towards the north, and then I do an out and back. And I know that I need to be at this specific bridge at 153k, because then I know I get home at the exact perfect distance. So this out and back, so I get to the bridge at 140k, so I know I need to do 13k to get back to the bridge. So I'll do 6.5k out, 6.5k back, get to the bridge at 153, boom, arrive at my doorstep at 180. So I've driven the route, and I've cycled a little bit. I did like 50k of it the other week.
And are these main roads, or a bit off road, or what's the?
It's all tarmac main road. Well, back roads, quite farm roads, but it's most of the tar's okay. It's a bit bumpy at times, but I chose bumpy over busy, which is maybe a bad decision. But I just don't want to. I'm doing 11,000 miles on the bike. There's a lot of opportunity to get run over in that time, right? So I was choosing quieter back roads that aren't necessarily perfect to cycle on, and I may vary it up. There's not too many options I can vary on route because of just the mountain ranges and all that. But one day I might go clockwise, and the other day I'll go anti-clockwise. Yeah.
And is there you say you've got 2 supports, or you got support with you? Is a vehicle going to be with you on every cycle, every run? If there be people right beside you?
So the swim, there's obviously someone in a canoe with me. On the bike, there'll be a car, probably not tailing me, because that's actually quite dangerous, because drivers get annoyed and they try, and often they don't see the bicycle, so they're trying to overtake and then cut in quickly, and then you're there. So they might meet me at different stops, and then because I'll have a spare bike, because if you're tired and it's cold, changing a puncture's 20 minutes if you're just, if things are going bad. So I want them to be close enough to me to swap out a wheel.
And are they allowed to do that for you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so supported. Yeah.
Exactly. So then on the run, I'm going to go on my own. I think the film guy might come with a mountain bike and follow me for bits of it just to get some footage. But then the sort of my go-to wingman, as it were, he'll spend the run time prepping everything for the following day. So drying wetsuits, soaking them in fabric softener to get rid of the pee smell, cooking meals, cooking the evening meal for all of us, plus blending some of it for the following lunchtime. And he's got a whole to-do list for those 5 hours, and I'm out on the run. So
that structure's set for what the support crew have got to do to get you through this.
Yeah, exactly. And sort of set. I have it in my head. I just need to write it down.
Please do. Please get it organised. What about like the experiences you've had from going across Europe, from up and down the UK, and you've done the 3 disciplines? What have you taken from those challenges when it gets dark, when it gets hard? What do you do internally to say, I've got to kick on here?
Yeah. So, firstly, the preparation. So there's 6 pistons of endurance: planning, food, water, sleep, muscle management, and motivation. And if you nail all 6 of those pistons, your engine's firing, and you're gonna do good distance. If all of those are good, you're good. I mean, it's pretty rare when you're self-supported, but I'm hoping with a support crew, you get them firing, more often than not. For example, when I did my self-supported ride across Europe, that was 25 days. I had 2 days when they're all firing out of 25. It's hard to get them all well. So the first one, planning. What I've done for this attempt, and I think it's a good one, is I'm doing 80% running, 10% cycling, 10% swimming in training. Because my thinking is the run is the one at the end of the day, and it's the one that you could really ruin yourself. And James, it proved, because he was doing mainly cycle training, because he wanted to do a fast bike ride. And have you seen his Strava? He was doing it in 5.5 hours for 112 miles. That's crazy fast.
Yeah. I also saw, you see him get out the swimming pool struggling to walk, going extremely slow.
Because I think, and this is where part of the planning is, I've listened to every podcast James has ever done, because I'm a super fan, and I'm just trying to work out how I can do it so I don't blow on the run like he did. And I think run training, if I'm run fit, because every time, so when I ran the length of Britain, when I got on the bike after that, I was flying. I wasn't going to break any records, but I felt strong, I felt robust, and I was doing a good pace. Whereas when I've been super cycle fit, I've tried to run and I've just died. When I did my world's longest triathlon, I did 3,500 miles on the bike. The first day I ran 13 miles, nearly died. Knee blew, everything blew, because it just, for me, it doesn't transfer. The fitness doesn't transfer from cycling to running. But for me, and it's probably because my running technique is crap and I'm plodding, if I'm run fit, I'm strong on the bike. And then the swim, the reason I've done not a lot of swim training is the local pool I swim in has real awkward. I think you can swim like twice a week for 45 minutes, and from 7 till 7:45.
Yeah.
And it's just awkward. Like, it needs to be 6 in the morning, because 7 it's like kids wake up and blah, blah. And also, the difference, it's the shortest time. The difference between a slow swim and a fast swim is probably only half an hour for me. So I could get I could put loads of effort into swim training now to just buy half an hour. Whereas if I get run, I could lose 2 hours on the run if I'm like walking. Yeah. So,
What's the thought process of injuries or things like that, working through it, physios?
I don't know. Yeah. There's sort of someone in town I can see, but the times of day are a bit awkward. Because ideally I need a physio in the evening. But I've not managed to find anyone who can come to my house at the end of each day.
For rub downs and...
Yeah, so my wingman has some experience in massage, so we're going to do that. I've got the compression leggings, so hopefully that's going to work. I've never used them before, but everyone raves about them. But again, I feel if I'm run fit, if I'm robust, which running makes you robust, definitely. I think I'm going to survive, hopefully, from a proper injury point of view, like stress fractures and torn ligaments and stuff. Obviously, I'm going to be tight and that sort of thing, but you just keep on top of that, hopefully. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, again, just putting all my eggs in the run basket now, which people, if I fail this podcast, they're going to be like, Sean, you're an idiot. Why did you do all the running?
What is that like in your head, that word failure? What does that mean?
It doesn't exist, really. I joke about it. It just doesn't exist. Yeah, it's just not an option.
It's not on the radar.
No.
You're getting up every morning.
Yeah, absolutely. So my biggest worry is just getting run over on the bike. I think for me that's my. So I list all the. I'm a list guy. I like lists, but so I list all the things that can end my world record attempt. Mm-hmm. Getting run over on the bike is probably the main one, I'd say. Yeah. You'd have to have a catastrophic muscle or ligament tear. That would probably do it. COVID, I need to just see where I'm at with COVID and the rules for COVID, because imagine we have another wave and they sort of say, well, if you get COVID, you got to self-isolate. That's potential game showstopper. Yeah. And family bereavement. That's a tough one to have to think about, but.
Okay.
I've got family all around the world who are getting old now. What happened,
And your dad visited recently. What does he think? Is he obviously told him what you're planning?
Yeah, he loves it now. Uh-huh. My dad was always super skeptical in the early days because he didn't understand that it was a viable way to provide for my family.
These old school mums and dads.
Yeah, these sensible people who, give me good morals. Damn them. Yeah, I mean, he didn't, and I didn't understand it. It wasn't meant to provide a roof over my head and food for my family. It just sort of happened. So, yeah, in the early days, my mum was always just like, well, Seb, Sean, just go and do it. Whereas Dad
That's
was
mums,
like,
isn't it?
Sean,
That's mums.
how are you going to provide for your family? Which is valid, so nurseries are very expensive.
Yeah. But they're not. But does the fear come in, like what you say, like on the bike, cars, other
At
people?
the moment, yeah, the fear. I do have a bit of the fear for cycling at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
After my Europe ride, that's partly why I packed in cycling.
Okay.
Because
So why go into this again if that's a fear? Is that something you just want to conquer?
I feel I can limit it by not doing dangerous roads, by having high-vis clothing, I think those, and no one wants to run over a cyclist.
No, of course not. But they
so-
do regularly.
I don't think as bad as the media, because obviously you always hear about it, but there's hundreds of thousands of people cycling every day who don't get run over. So I'm just going, and I've also been run over once already.
How was it?
Yeah,
What happened?
I don't remember. It's great.
So it was a bad one.
Yeah. In America, I got taken out at 50 mile an hour, whiplash, concussion, torn ligaments in my spine. Compression fracture in T11. So it was a pretty bad one. But I don't remember anything. It's brilliant. Went to bed the night before, woke up in hospital. I'm like,
Where's my bike? Where's my bike?
I'd got up, I'd cycled for a couple of hours and got run over.
Was that on a record
On
attempt?
my
or
around the world. That's ended my around the world attempt. Yeah.
Okay, that would do it. That would end it.
Yeah. So no one gets run over twice, right?
Well, I hope not. I certainly
well,
hope
that's
not.
what I want to say. If you want to make sure no one else has a bomb on an airplane, take your own bomb. Because the chances of two people having a bomb on an airplane is so small.
What about when James Lawrence did all this? There's people running with him. There was all that sort of stuff. What if you have people trying to cycle with you or turning up or?
So, I would love it. I would absolutely love people to come and join me. However, I have since been informed that if I actively promote it, and X number of people turn up, it becomes an event, and which I am then responsible for. So
okay.
which is sad. Luckily, you can't stop people coming and cycling on a public road, so that's great. The run is also great because it's half off-road and half real back roads.
So the run's possible in certain spots, but
the run's possible for the whole run is pretty safe. But,
Okay.
but I am worried. Like, what if I do go for a ride and someone has a crash and breaks their arm or worse? Where do I stand on that? Which is, it's. I don't know. I'm speaking to people to find out.
Yeah.
Because what I don't want to do is all of a sudden, say, oh, come and join me, but then I'm negligent, because I don't want to be negligent because there's a couple of big crossings where you got to cross busy roads. I've chosen the route. Sure, why did you choose that route? So, and I doubt it will happen. I doubt it will happen, but I want to be responsible because I'm I'm doing something that naturally comes with an element of responsibility if people come and join me. So I want to just make sure that there's a way I can do it where people can come, and it may be limiting numbers. It may be just sort of encouraging people to, maybe there's a booking system. I don't know. It'd be sad to have to do that, but I don't want someone having a serious injury because I just was like, yeah, it's a free country. Everyone just do what you want.
Yeah.
And so that'd be irresponsible. So
what's this community like? We're obviously in North Wales here, but do people know you? Do your neighbours know they've got this guy next door that takes on these world record attempts and stuff like that?
Sort of. Yeah. I mean, they know I've done stuff, but they're all much older than me and don't really care. Which is quite nice. I get to just get on with my life.
and obviously, I've interviewed so many of them, but there's a community of people like you that take on these incredible things and push their bodies to the limits. Mm-hmm. Is there people that you've reached out to? Is there people sort of under the radar that know what you're doing that you've taken bits from, or have you got enough in your own locker that you think people are going to get a shock when they hear this and I'm just going for it?
Yeah, I feel I've got enough of knowledge at the moment. 10 years of doing different stuff. I have taken on a nutritionist for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
When I cycled around the world, I got some advice from a personal trainer friend of mine who gave me some amazing advice. But now I've gone straight for the top, someone who's just amazing. at nutrition. And yeah, that's pretty much the only bit of advice I've taken on board for this one, because I feel I know what I need to do, I think. Although everyone says, "Why are you doing all the running?"
But the nutrition side of it, that's interesting, because what you see, you sort of keep an eye on your diet. How much is it going to change from the what do you say, the 12th when you're starting, the 11th of June, to the day you start? Are you upping your intake now to get your body ready, or what sort of shape are you going to be in on the start line?
This is such a long challenge. There's no real point in bulking up at the beginning, because you'll lose it in the first couple of weeks, and then all you're doing is running heavy and getting injured. So I'll probably try and hit the start line in peak form. So my race weight, 70 kgs. I'm 72 now. I'm not going to look to lose it, but I'm not going to look to add more weight. So I'm just going to live normally, eat normally, and then when day one comes, the biggest change I'll have, and it's my biggest weakness in endurance, is I struggle eating. I
on the move.
Just generally, yeah. I struggle to swallow. I get flavor fatigue. I get eating fatigue. I feel nauseous. Yeah, it's a terrible, terrible sort of hindrance, to be honest. So I know I can drink. So most of my meals throughout the challenge will be
shakes, and things like that,
or blended. So it'll be meals. Real meals, but they'll just be blended. Yeah.
And
so
like
I have like spaghetti bolognese blended,
and
just, drink it.
Consume it on the bike while running, or
ideally, I really, because I'm so adamant I want to spend as much time with my family at home, that I want to. Yeah, you're stealing minutes. Stealing minutes. So trying to eat and drink on the bike as much as possible, because yeah, if I can get 2 hours at home each night, that's way better than having 1 hour at home each night just for the family. So yeah, that's really. I'm hungry for stealing those minutes.
So to put it into sort of get our heads around it, 12th of June to start. What's the finish date?
24th of September.
24th of September. So it's a
Yeah.
hell of a journey, hell of a time, and that's
no, I know, and annoyingly, just because I thought of the idea too late, I wish I'd started now, because the water temperature is 15 degrees now, so I could have started mid-May, which would have given me more time if I wanted to carry on at the other end. Because that's another question: is do I go past 102? Do I do more? I would like to do more, only because if I'm in the groove, I'd hate to stop just because I've got the record. And I think James also said, like, at day 98, someone said, "Could you do 100?" He was like, "Yeah, I could, easy." And then he also said, actually, the day I finished, I was like, "How did I even do one?" But it all depends on family life. If Monty's sort of playing up because Daddy's gone, if it's a bit of a struggle to, because I won't be around for the mornings, right? Getting up, going to nursery and all that. And also, if Sebastian forgets who I am. Imagine that.
Well, hey, there's enough pictures of you around the house.
I know.
You've got enough memorabilia on walls. But what about I get that, and if he forgets, but in the long term, when you look back, would there be something in you that wished you had finished because the boys would have had Dad breaking that record? See what I mean there? If you do say, "I think I've got to pull this now because I want to be with the boys more," 20 years down the line, if they turned to you and said, "Dad, I wish you'd finished that."
What, a cat one done like 150 or something?
Or if you have to finish before the 102.
Oh no, absolutely not. No, there's no question of stopping because the boys miss me before.
Okay.
Absolutely not. No, this is still my job, and this provides for my family by going out and doing these things. I get to write books about it. I get to do talks about it, and all that's fun.
Yeah.
And that stuff is good, and I'm showing them, hopefully, that there's some, you got to make some sacrifices, and I'm sorry that it's not ideal right now, but it's all for the better at the end. No, so there's no question of stopping before for that, but it's whether I stop at 102 or carry on to 101. Like, I think of a cool number, like 111 or 123, or I don't know. That's where I'll...
Or 496.
Yeah.
That's your number.
Yeah. What I'm quite good at doing, actually, for some reason, is I'm quite good at doing a record that then inspires someone else to break it. And I kind of like that. I kind of like, only doing 102, but then saying, right, because as I sit here, not having ever done one Ironman in my life, so Don't listen to me. But I still think, and James said it, once you're in your groove, you could just carry on from a physical point of view, but it's whether you're willing to put that time in and be away from family and just chunk out of your calendar and out of your lives. But I think there's someone out there who could probably do 365.
Has anyone tried to beat James so far?
I thought, this is why it's confusing on Guinness who has the record, because I also thought there was a husband and wife. I may have made this up, but after the 50, I thought there was a husband and wife team going for the full distance and half distance together. She was doing the half, he was doing the full, and I'm not sure what happened there. But again, maybe I made that up.
Would it be? How good would it be for you if when you break it, say you get 102, and then you hear James is going for 103? That he was out to get your record.
Great, brilliant. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll do 104 then.
Imagine that rivalry, or do it together, guys. Just get together. You do it here, he does it over there. Race it out.
No, I sort of kind of feel honoured if someone wants to try and break my record. And yeah, there's a little bit of, like, there's 10% of me who goes, damn you. But there's 90% of me who's like, well, that's cool. You know, I made it a thing. Because once I've got the record, for me, my kids get to see me, I've got the record for them. I get to write a book about it, and which I love. I've written 7 books now, and that, I love that process, which is a nice memoir for my future grandkids. Someone will, I think. If I do get to the 102, and let's say for whatever reason I stop at 102, I'm almost 100% sure someone will try and break that. Yeah.
In documenting this, you've got the videographer, but are you going to be trying to do a diary? Are you going to try and record? How are you going to recall the days when you
voice notes? Yeah.
You're going to do voice notes.
Always do. Yeah.
That's how you're going to do.
It's great to listen back to, because I'll say something like, "Yeah, it's a really hot day, and all I could find is a packet of crisps at the service station," and then like 10 minutes later, "Yeah, it's a really hot day, and all I could find is a packet of crisps." Because I forget I've done the voice note, because I'm usually so knackered. I do the same one twice.
So voice notes, and then how long after a challenge does it usually take for you to turn around for you to be able to digest what you achieved?
I digest it as I write it, usually. So when I'm writing the book is usually when I'm listening back to the voice notes, going back to my phone, looking at pictures, looking at the routes. So I go on Google Street View, and just scroll down roads I cycled on or ran on.
And does that come back to you?
Oh, absolutely. So
you remember the streets, the routes, and all that sort of stuff?
Amazing. Yeah, because if you told me, you cycled across Ukraine, where did you go? Honestly, I knew I went through Lviv and Kiev, and that's it. I even if you looked at a map now, I'd be like, I think I was on that road. But if I went on the street, I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that. When I ran the length of Britain, I couldn't do Street View because there was a lot on trails. So I drove most of the routes and then did bits of the trail, and that really helped me. So just to write the book. So like a year later when I wrote the book, I went back up to John O'Groats and drove and saw the trails. Oh yeah, I remember this trail now. And I remember what happened in that trail because I remembered getting onto the trail from the road. It really does help. So that makes me kind of relive it.
And then are we going to see a kind of documentary after it when you put the videos together, when you put the content together?
Oh, yeah, hope so. Yeah, it's someone going to be filming the whole thing. I would love for it to just go on YouTube and make it a free thing that anyone can go and watch. But you never know, it may land up somewhere else.
It's incredible. Taking this challenge on. I can't wait till the noise gets out there of what you're taking on, and James Lawrence finds out. I want to see.
Hope he comes and joins me.
Well, yeah. Call him out, and then obviously Rich Rowe and huge podcasts and guys that have helped promote him. Yeah, exactly. Because, like I said at the start, you've got the credentials, and you've done so much and achieved so much and broken so many records that this one, if it's on your radar, you're going to go for it. You're going to smash it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's this? I can hear voices.
Monty. Hello, Monty.
Is it Monty? Hi. Hello there. How are you?
You having fun?
I won't keep your daddy too much longer, okay?
You going to come and do one of the Iron Distance triathlons? Oh, sorry, I keep saying Ironman, please. I feel I need a caveat at the beginning. Like, I've said Ironman this whole time. It's not an Ironman. There we go.
It's all good. Monty, maybe you'll come in the big whiskey barrel with us after.
You want to come in the whiskey barrel? You've got your own mini one.
You can jump in. Sean, jump to that, because that whiskey barrel story that went completely viral across TikTok, social media.
Oh, that's bad.
When I spoke to you a few months ago, and you're like, of all the things I've done, the whiskey barrel has been one of the most popular things.
I know. So basically, I wanted an ice bath, mainly for the triathlon challenge, and I just like the idea of I like whiskey. So I thought, well, I'll get a whiskey barrel one, which is quite popular. I'd seen people do that. So you buy the 500 litre one, and then you get two types of 500 litre. You get the long, thin one, and then the short, dumpy one. So I wanted the short, dumpy one, so you didn't have to climb so far to get in. Found one on eBay, bought it, arrived a week later. And as I was sawing it, I was like, the barrel still smells on the inside, which is cool. And then when I opened the lid, it was still like this much liquid at the bottom. I was like, no way. And I went in and I filmed this all just for fun. And then tasted it, and it was actually whiskey. So I scooped it all out, and I have 7 litres of the stuff. So I just put it up on the internet, and then literally, like, for the next week, I had agencies from America phoning me saying, oh, we'd like to share the content and Lad Bible and all this. I was like, yeah, whatever, do what you want. Like, I don't care.
Is that right?
And now I took one of our cars into the garage the other week, to a garage I've not used before in town. He's like, are you the guy off Lad Bible? I was like, brilliant. Swim the length of Britain, all this other stuff. I'm just the whiskey barrel guy of Land Bible.
Are you going to veer into that world? Because the first thing I did when we came into your office here, there's a whiskey here, and I'm like, oh, is that the whiskey?
Yeah,
and no, it's not.
Yeah, I have it. It's down in the house. I'll show you.
There's a whole market there for you.
Yeah.
Can I say, you've got the look. You've got the look in these leather chairs, and you've got the studio here, the office.
If I sort of had any sort of desire to be famous on social media, I would probably jump at this opportunity, but I really couldn't be asked. Basically. So.
What is that relationship like for you? Because obviously you're well known. People want to know about you. I'm here chatting to you, and there's so much interest in. There will be when people find out what you're doing, but what you've achieved. And speaking to Rob, as we were driving down here, it's like people find your tribe, and you find the people that want to know more about you. Yeah. How do you get on with that relationship with people following you on Instagram, the people that want to know more about you?
Yeah, I do love it, and I feel I probably don't share enough, and that's often the thing I get. They're like, oh, where have you been on social media? I was like, I don't know, have I not been there? And then I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, you haven't posted in a month. So I probably should do a little bit more, but I do like it. I like the fact that it's going to be a photo album for my future grandkids to scroll through, hopefully, if it's still around. And I'm a bit, like, one day I'll wake up and be like, yeah, this is fun. I'm really enjoying creating, because the photographer in me still wants to create interesting visual content, whether it's photos or videos now. So part of me is like that. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh, this is it's all fake, and who cares? Like, social media is ruining the world, So I flip between them, really. But, I'd like to do more on social media.
It's almost a peaks and troughs.
But I don't want to get caught into this. Oh well, my audience like whiskey barrel content. Let me just do whiskey, or let me. I just don't want to fall into creating content just for more views or just for more likes. Because you can there's a formula. You can do something, and if you add some funny, stupid boomerang on it and blah blah blah, it's more interesting to watch and more. I just don't want to. I don't want the view count to be
your motivation,
my motivation to do it.
Yeah,
I want to do it because it's interesting, and I want to do it because it's fun. So there's an Australian guy called Bo Miles who also looks a bit like me. He's got a ginger beard, and he hardly ever posts on Instagram, but when it's a post, it's important, and you read it because he's talking about something. And he does stuff on YouTube, and he puts one film out, one long feature length film. It's not one of these clickbait films. It's just like, it's a philosophy film a lot of the time, or it's a challenge that he's trying to do, and it's 20 minutes on YouTube, and there's no sort of like high drama, and it's like, I want to create a good film, and I don't care. I mean, people watch it because they are good, but there's none of this sort of short, instant clickbait stuff.
And what, is he an adventurer or environmentalist? Or?
So, sort of. He did a lot of kayaking in his time.
Yeah.
He'd be great on the podcast, actually, but the thing that sort of got him known on YouTube anyway was he called it sort of a different type of marathon. He ran 1 mile per hour for 24 hours. So he did a couple of miles at the beginning.
I did that.
Yeah, and then
You
every
must have done
hour
that.
I've not done it yet. No.
It was
So that he and then in each hour he had to do his mile, which is a lap of his block.
and then he did stuff in his
And then
house.
he did stuff
I
in
know. I've
between.
watched that.
Yeah.
I've watched him. He is
cool
a
guy.
really interesting guy.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant YouTube video.
So good. And then the other one is he's called himself the Human Bean. He ate his body weight in beans, or however long it took him. And yeah, so he's got some really cool, interesting philosophy. And I think, I would like my motivation to be doing good stuff. But you do fall into the trap, like we all fall into that trap of,
you'll get some likes when you put Colonel Mustard, that yellow Land Rover on social media.
Not if you're an eco warrior.
Yeah, but the adventures. That car. What does it mean to you, that car? Because it's your passion, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Africa with Dad driving Land Rovers and Defenders and Series 3s, and he had a 2A. And in my head, it was just a passport to adventure, having one, especially the Camel Trophy ones, which was that expedition you could join and be a part of back in the 80s and 90s. And I always just dreamt of having one. And then, when Twisted reached out and said, "Oh, we'll make you one," I was like, "Yes, please. That'd be amazing."
That day came.
So it is. I mean, I really have no business driving it. And I made a joke about being an eco warrior. I'm sort of an eco warrior on the sideline, but so really, I should sell it, but it's a little bit part of my soul, it's a link to my childhood. It's a link in my head anyway to my time in Africa when I grew up there and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it doesn't half chow diesel though.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Oh, that trip to the Alps.
I was going to say that would be an expensive trip, but see on that the way you were brought up and you brought up with Land Rovers and with Monty and Sebastian, how do you see the world unfolding for them? Because they've obviously got you as an example. They've got you out there going further, going faster, and now you're going for the most. You're putting these things and these disciplines in front of them.
Yeah.
But if they go to school, there's going to be other things influencing them, and there's going to be things on YouTube.
Terrified.
Are you really?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm terrified about bringing kids up into a world that I have no idea what it's going to look like, And our parents were sort of the same. They had no idea what it was going to look like, but they probably thought it was going to be a bit more like their world because things like the internet hadn't been invented and that. Whereas people start talking about the metaverse and all this jazz. I'm like, gee, I do not want to live in that world. That's for sure. So no, I mean, I'm hoping the kids are into doing stuff outdoors. I'd love it if they got into sport, not as a career, but as a hobby, and found a real passion in doing sport, because I think sport's super important. Yeah. But, maybe sport for them is going to be sitting with virtual reality goggles on and weighted boxing gloves.
Or playing FIFA and filling stadiums watching people play PlayStations.
Yeah, which is fine. I have no problem with that, because I think if you find something you're good at and you enjoy it, do it. But for me, the old man in me would like it if they walked up a hill every now and then.
At what point will you turn to them? What if they do get into that world? Will you turn to them like your dad sort of looked at you and said, "Hey, there's not a career in this. You can't support a family." How relaxed will you be in sort of dad advice?
Well, I don't know, because you don't want money to you don't want to make money the influence for someone's decisions, but it's tough. We do live in a world where you need money.
Yeah,
they've got rid of bartering. It would have been nice, I made this knitted pair of socks. Can that pay for my bus fare? Yeah, so I don't know. I it'd be a hypocrite of me if I said, well, this is not going to earn you enough money to buy your kids food, because I think if you're passionate about anything, you eventually will be able to turn that into some sort of way to pay the bills, right?
But was there a point in this career, sort of leaving the photography behind, going into adventure and endurance, everything that you do now that you say pays the bills, the books, the deals, and the sponsorship, was there ever a point where you thought, this isn't working? I can't keep this going. I'm going to have to go back into the rat race sort of thing.
No, I got really lucky because of when I swam Britain. Yeah, that really, sort of the moment my feet touched the ground from that swim, my life changed overnight.
What happened?
Yeah, it was agents and book deals and TV deals, and it was overwhelming actually. don't remember much of it. I just remember just having every day I'd open up my inbox and people stop me in the street, you know, like, oh, I own a sunglasses pair. I've got one in my bag. Can you wear it? I'll take a picture. And I was, you know, it was all just happening. Like, just stuff was coming to me. And I rode that wave for years, really, off the back of that swim. And the swim I only did because after the round the world cycle, which I got run over, I was back in with my mum in Cheltenham in a 1-bedroom flat. I was sleeping on the sofa bed in a tiny basement flat. And I was trying to get work. I was on the dole. I was going to the job centre every 2 weeks. Just trying to get work in bike shops, in photography studios again, which I hated the idea of, but I just needed to do something. I was 32, living with my mum, queuing up at the job centre. And then after, 6 months? Because I have no A-levels and I didn't go to university. I just did photography and then went to college and that's it. I was like, I just need to get out the house. My mum's going to kill me, you know. So I thought, well, the last time I thought of something, which was the round the world cycle, I managed to get some funding to pay for flights and food and whatnot. And also when I got back, people were like, oh, you should write a book and can we hear you talk and all that. So I thought, oh, well, maybe if I just replicate that as a thing, like choose some difficult challenge, get some sponsorship, write a book about it, do it, hopefully win or get the challenge, write a book about it, do some talks about it, get some more sponsorship deals, and you could just roll that over. So the swim was really just to kind of get out the house and get some money in because I managed to get some sponsorship money. So then, basically because I was just skint, basically. And I wasn't getting any jobs. And I just, being on the dole was depressing for me. And
what's that process like swimming the length of the UK? Where did you start it? Where did you finish?
It's Land's End up to John O'Groats.
Right, okay.
Up the west coast. Swim all day, sleep on a boat. Swim the next day, basically.
Eating in the water?
Mostly, yeah. Yeah, so it's tidal, so you can only swim you can swim for 6 hours of the tide, but I chose to swim the middle 4.5 hours, which is the strongest bit. And then you do that every 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
So in every 6 hour period, you're swimming 4.5 hours, and then you're waiting 7.5, and then you swim another 4.5, and you wait 7.5 or 8, depending. The tides change a little bit.
I saw you in a recent post. You were calling out Ross Edgley because he's not done the run in the cycle.
Yeah, I know. Come on, Ross. So Ross is the only other person to have swum Land's End to John O'Groats, and then he carried on and did the full lap.
Yeah. So
I'm the only person in history to have done a swim, cycle, and run Land's End to John O'Groats. So I was like, come on, Ross, do the cycle and the run to join my club. There's Fiona Quinn has done a stand-up paddleboard, cycle and run, or walk. And I think there's maybe one other person.
Is there not a girl about to take on something? Oh, I forget her name. Was there not?
Yeah,
something?
Jasmine Harrison. I've been helping her do this, train for the swim.
Okay.
I think it's a done deal. She's got the funding. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I know she was sort of looking for some funding. I hope she got it, because that's half the battle is trying to get for the swim, especially, is to get a qualified skipper and a support boat. So I've been helping her with routes and that for the last year. Actually, she came to me about a year ago.
And what are you like? Like, I've got to think that James Lawrence, when he hears this is happening, he's going to look at you. He's going to go behind the scenes. What do you do if someone like Jasmine comes to you? Do you go behind the scenes?
No.
You go, what is this? Or do you just think, okay,
just I'll give you a couple of hours of my time. Let's Zoom or Skype or whatever. Ask me as many questions as you want. Make sure you have a pen and paper. I'll give you verbal diarrhea of everything I've cocked up in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And you can choose to take it on board or not, but that's what I do. Yeah, just give them as much advice as I can. From everything, from getting the sponsorship, from the training, from diet that's worked well for me and things like that. Mostly it's sponsorship, unfortunately. That seems to be the challenge most big world record attempts have to go through.
What are the key things when it must be easier now with everything you have achieved, but we're talking about James Lawrence and what he achieved with the 50-50-50. He was told it's impossible. Doctors said you'll die. I mean, there was nobody that would really back him, and he had to go out there and do it. What's that like for an athlete when you're trying to get to that start line of your first challenge? Are you hoping for a favour from a friend that's maybe got a wealthy friend in a company that will throw you some money? What's that journey like for young athletes?
It's really difficult to get sponsorship now if you're a very good athlete with no social media presence. It's really interesting. So I know some really good athletes who've had to stop their sport because they've not been able to deliver good content. This is the niche stuff. I think once you're in athletics,
rowing, probably tennis, club sports, like rugby and football and that. You're probably fine because and even cycling, you're probably fine because you're in a regulated body which has a natural progression. If you win these races, you get points and you get better and you get better. Eventually, a sponsorship looks, oh well, he's got 500 points, he's good, let's sponsor him. Whereas if you're on a niche sport where there's none of that, sort of like BMXing or skateboarding or climbing, sometimes if you're not on top of your social media game, sponsors are going to go, well, why should I give you money? What are we going to get in return? Because it's unlikely you're going to make it into the newspaper anymore. It's unlikely you're going to get on the news anymore. So we need something else. So it is difficult. So you really have got to think quite creatively now on what you deliver sponsors, whether it be. And luckily, I'm not in the influencer bubble, thankfully, where I just say, right, well, if you sponsor me, I'm going to do you 27 posts over the next 12 months. I more rely on working together with them on things like product development and product testing and days of my time where we go and do talks and go to schools and do a whole campaign rather than just they're paying me for posts. But it's hard because a lot of them would just be like, how many posts are you going to give us and what's your reach? And I'm like, and it's tough. Like if you're an up and coming athlete and you have to train all the time every day, all of a sudden you have to become a blooming Photoshop wizard and an iMovie wizard.
It's like any company, any brand, any company, any individual that is out there now needs to become a media agency. They need to become self-promotion. They need to become somebody that can put themselves out there.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got to move with the times. That is the world of sport now. So you've got to go with it. So you've got to do that. You touched on everyone says you're going to die. I think for the most part, 80% of people are supportive nowadays, generally. But it's quite easy to tell that story. The 3 comments where someone said, "Oh, it's not possible." People like me sitting here with people like you go, "You know what? People told me it wasn't possible." But actually, if you looked at the comments on that Facebook post, there's 95 people said, "Wow, this is awesome. If you need help, I'll help you." And 3 people went, "Oh no, mate, you're an idiot." But people like me in the past me, has focused on those 3 people. Except the swim. When I swam Britain, that was an overwhelming, mate. It's kind of like not possible because I had sailors, like a lot of the sailing crowd are like, you can't even sail it in a season, man. Which you can. I've got the sailing record as well, randomly.
Have you?
84 hours. Yeah, me and 2 of my mates. Yeah, I was just the T-boy, to be fair.
I didn't know you had that. So
Land's End John O'Groats sailing world record did in 2015, I think. Yeah, 2015. 84 hours. Yeah.
And what, that just was your idea, or did someone say come with us?
My mate Phil Sharp is a world renowned ocean sailor, and he was just trying to do loads of little records for publicity and to keep his sponsors happy. And he and his friend Alex Alley, they had a boat.
Yeah,
it was Alex's boat. It was fast, open 40, whatever that means. And they needed a 3rd guy to be a T-monkey. And I'd just run the length of Britain on Discovery Channel, so I was like, oh, he knows Land's End John O'Groats. Come on. So I've done land and sea, land twice and sea twice. So I've done cycle and run on land, and then I nearly did the air, paramotoring. Yeah.
Oh, you'll take that off one day.
So my friends did it, and I just
really?
did diary.
So
it's been done, but diary didn't work, so it would have been fun. But anyway, back to so the swim was the one where people really said you couldn't do it. But actually, I think for the most part now, the internet is it's not a safe space. There's some horrible stuff on the internet, but I think for the most part, people are pretty good. Or maybe I'm just blind to all the negativity because I don't check comments and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, but you're doing something that there will be negativity. There will be people surely that say it's not possible, or who's this guy think he is.
But those people I've put them into 3 categories. 1, they're jealous that they probably in their head they know it's possible, but they kind of wish that they had thought of it. 2, they've had too many bevies. They're a bit tipsy, a bit drunk. Like genuinely, you often, because I've met some of these people. I met someone at he's like, "Oh mate, I'm that guy or thing who slagged you off on Facebook." I was like, You were really mean. He's like, I was joking, mate. But it doesn't come across, right?
No.
Yeah, I'd had a few beers, mate. Whatever. I was like, okay. And the third one is they're just not quite with it. Like
Okay.
in their head, they're just, there's something's going on with them, and they're just taking it out on you.
Putting negativity out there.
But actually, they're just not in a good headspace. So I find those are the three categories for trolls for me. If I just say they're all just nutcases, then I'm like, I feel sorry for them.
Yeah, you're doing things that people obviously maybe wish they could do themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
That
yeah,
first
quite a lot
jealousy,
of the time.
that first
Quite a lot of
jealousy
the
one's
time.
probably
Yeah.
quite current. It's incredible, and look, it's going to be epic. And as I said, we've been speaking for so long, I can't remember if it was on or off mic, but I'll be bringing the kids down at some
Yeah,
point because
definitely.
the chance when we took them up to see the Stoltmans and meet the world's strongest man and record the podcast and film all, we've got that. I want to show my kids what you're doing,
Yeah.
you know, and I want my kids to see people doing incredible things.
Yeah.
Because like you say, what is the world that is going to... What world's coming for them? Is it going to be standard to be in the metaverse for our kids not to try and break records or not to score the goals on Saturday morning and not these things? It's to put a headset on and get lost in some, virtual reality.
Yeah. I hope not. I mean, we're sort of there anyway. I mean, social media is somewhat a virtual reality of yourself, right? So it's, I mean... Yeah, I don't know. La 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 la.
I know, try and close your ears to it, but it's all around us, isn't it? I mean, what we're doing here, it's on social media. It's going to be out there, and and as you say, it's a way for us to communicate, and people are going to find out about what you're doing pretty soon.
Yeah.
But that date is
can't wait.
June 12th.
June 12th. It was June 1st, but there's been some technical issues with support crews and bicycles.
Really?
Just can't get bicycles.
Is that right?
There's a worldwide shortage of bicycles. So there's a specific bike that Giant make that I want to ride, and Giant are going to support me. But there just is a global shortage of them.
Wow.
So, so I had to delay it. I delayed it twice. It was the 8th of June, and now it's the 12th of June. And that's it now. I can't delay it anymore, otherwise the water gets too cold on the other end.
Yeah.
It's open water swim, so... Am I ready?
At what stage do you think, because a lot of these guys, when I spoke to James, when I spoke to other athletes, and I've been speaking to Nims Purja and getting guys like that, going up Everest and going up all these mountains, they say there's a time when your body starts to realise and knows what it's going to be up against tomorrow. Your body starts to adapt. Have you had from previous challenges when your body starts to get into a flow state?
10 days to 2 weeks for me.
Is that right?
Yeah. So the first 10 days to 2 weeks, my body's going, oh, sweet, we've got rest day tomorrow. And then you don't have rest day. It's like, oh, okay, well, we're going to have a rest day the following day, yeah? Oh, no. What? Oh, no, but it's going to be tomorrow, surely. And then after 10 days, 2 weeks, it goes, no rest day. Sweet. Okay, well, I'll just do a better job overnight now.
That's such a great way to look at it.
No, it is, honestly. And you almost wake up next time and you're like, I slept better. I don't feel as stiff. And also your body's, biologically, you are actually improving as well. So it's not just a sort of a mindset thing. So I'm interested to know how much my diet is like, because I'm really... I've actually told my nutritionist, so she's sort of asking me like, what meals do you prefer, this or that? I'm like, whatever's the best. Just give me if it tastes like crap, I just need to eat it.
Get it in me.
And you need to, so my wingman, he just needs to have a whip, and I'm even going to tell them that I can't do, this until I've eaten this, type thing.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that being just really on it with my diet is going to help, because our initial calculations, my nutritionist was like, well, you might need 12,000 calories a day. I'm like, that's way too much. I don't believe that. I'm thinking 7,000 because I'm running at a low heart rate. I'm around 110, 120, I think. There's no way you burn 12,000 calories a day on 120 heart rate. I don't know. It's too much. My stomach won't fit 12,000 calories.
You're going to find out.
Yeah.
But we've obviously, we're talking about your body and your knees and how that will recover. What about your mind?
My mind is, touch wood, the thing that's usually strong if I'm on my own. I'm very self-motivated. It's going to be interesting if I see a change in family dynamics with my kids while I'm gone, or Caroline, if she's starting, if the morning routine's becoming really tough, and by the time I get back after the cycle leg at 2:00, Caroline is just like, oh my gosh, Monty wouldn't get out of his pajamas. I had to take him to nursery and there's underpants on his head.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how I'm going to cope with that, seeing that every day. Because normally when I do something, Caroline's the only person I speak to. So I tell all the rest of my family, dad, mum, sister, uncles, aunts, godmothers, don't contact me. I don't want to speak to you. So when I did my Across Europe ride, around the world ride, nothing. There's a tracker, follow my Instagram. I don't want sort of any door to my home life, except Caroline, because she's awesome. So we speak on the phone on my Europe ride, and I found that very motivational.
That helped.
Yeah, it did help because she was so awesome. You know, she's just a machine. So, but you know, being a parent's hard. Technically, she's sort of going to be a single parent, and she's self-employed as well. So she's got her own business.
Yeah.
So she's running that ship. Even now, she's
Well, it's that thing. It's that I have it. If I go for a run and I come back, and we've got 3 kids at home, and Abby, two of the boys have been fighting, and she's up to 90, and you say, "Hey, go for a walk. I'll take the kids. I'll stay."
Yeah.
You won't have that.
Yeah.
That's the.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
So
the thing.
I think mentally that'll be the thing that really could play on my mind. You know,
It's
knowing that I'm getting up and leaving Caroline in the,
could be chaos.
in the mix.
Could be chaos on a morning.
Yeah. I mean, luckily we have grandparents in the village as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if things are getting bad, and I've also just said, I'm getting a new bike. I will sell one of my other bikes and pay for an au pair to come in every morning if we need to, because if I sold a bike that, and I would even sell my Across Europe bike. If Caroline was finding it really difficult and we needed some extra cash to pay for an au pair to come in and just help out with the mornings, I will sell that bike tomorrow. No questions. Absolutely no questions. So that Caroline's like, no, we don't need that. I'll be fine. And she'll be fine. But as you say, the last time I was away, when I did my national parks marathons, Monty got blooming pneumonia. It's just so typical, right?
Monty.
Literally, I've not been away for the whole of COVID.
Yeah.
First time I'm away, he gets pneumonia. The ambulance came to the house. We have both our neighbours at the time were in their late 80s. The whole street thought, oh no, old Betty's gone.
But it's wee Monty.
It's actually Monty. Actually, quite like the ambulance. 2 arrived as well. 2 ambulances. The ambulance get all the way to the hospital, like an hour away. Caroline was there till 4 a.m, and I'm like, oh, you couldn't write this.
Where were you? Where were you?
I was only on day. It was after Loch Lomond, so I was just about to do Northumberland. So I was day 3, so I was very prepared to just come home, and then just start it again. But luckily, he was actually fine, and he enjoyed the ambulance ride. He thought it was kind of like a bit of a merry-go-round or something.
Yeah.
But what if the kids both get seriously ill? We all got COVID at one time. When we were out in France, all 4 of us got COVID, and luckily we're all fine. But what if round 2 we're not fine, or they're not fine? So, yeah, I don't know. So that'll play on and also, what if someone else in my family has some serious, what if my dad in South Africa has a car crash and he's in the hospital for a month? How's that going to play on my mind? So he's already said specifically, whatever happens to me, you will finish this. I'm like, geez, Dad.
So have you got the same rules with them that no one else contacts you during this?
Absolutely.
No one contacts you for this one apart from Caroline?
I think, except maybe in the evenings. I think when I'm home in the evenings, I might do some, again, just try and be into normal life a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might. But sort of when I'm out on the road, I sort of don't want my dad worrying because, the last time I did a big cycle, when I did the around the world, he's following my tracker.
And
all of a sudden it stops for an hour, and then it's doing 100 miles an hour to a police station and then a hospital, because the bike was in the back of the police van. So he's paranoid about that every 5 minutes now. So I may not have a tracking map on this one just because if it encourages people to come and it becomes an official event. So I'm getting some advice on that. But so normally my mindset's the strong bit. It's balancing. And James says this. It's 100% mind and 100% body.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
So
yep.
You've got to you can't survive one without the other on this one.
And obviously he talks quite openly about falling asleep on the bike.
I've never had that.
No?
Not even been close. And I've done, what is my record? 45 hours straight on the bike? and then a 25-minute nap.
Without stopping?
Yep. Oh, you stop for pee. And food
Yeah,
and
but
stuff.
like, sorry, without going to sleep.
Yeah. So 45 hours, 25-minute nap, another 12 hours, then a 45-minute nap. Yeah, I think I did like 700 or 800 miles before I'd had a proper sleep. That was when I was doing the Route 66 bike race in America.
How long did you sleep after that stint? Did you do like a full...
I then did a 3.5-hour sleep, and then I got injured and I had to pull out that one. So I didn't get to the stage because in my head I was like, I'm just going to bank some miles at the beginning, and actually there was 2 other really strong cyclists, and we were sort of when they were a bit. So it was pissing with rain on day 1. And phones weren't blooming waterproof back then, so I had this stupid waterproof cover, but water got in it. When I plugged it in, it wouldn't charge, and everything was to save 50 grams of weight. I only was navving off, and it was a specific route you had to follow, so I was navving off my phone. So my phone wasn't charging, and so I knew if it died, because I had a dynamo, I couldn't nav, so I couldn't race.
Yep.
So I was stopping, bought a bag of rice, put the phone in the rice, lost an hour then I dropped a water bottle and had to buy a new water bottle. I was just having this nightmare. So I was like 3 hours behind in the first day. So eventually I just did it through the night and did this 40-something hours. And then they were sleeping, overtook them. And then I slept for that 25 minutes. They overtook me. And then, yeah, it was great. I loved it. It was the first time I'd done a short race. It was 2,000 miles on the bike, which was kind of like a sprint. So the idea is just to like bank loads of miles at the beginning. And then you scare off a lot of people in the pack, because if you wake up and there's like, man, these guys have done like a third of the race in 2 days. Jeez. Even though the whole race takes 12 days, so you've sort of you're front loading it. Unfortunately, my knee decided that was a bad strategy, so I bailed on that one. But yeah, it's what was the question?
I have no idea.
Already.
I just can't believe you went for 45 hours straight without going to sleep.
I sleep banked before it. So sleep banking is when you can build up sleep. So you can actually... So if for now, if you had 3 days of 15 hours sleep per day, just sleep and like you wake up, go back to sleep, just try. Honestly, you can do 40 hours and feel okay. If you eat well and hydrate well and have a bit of caffeine maybe. You'll be surprised. Yeah.
What's your caffeine intake going to be like?
On this one, high-ish.
Yeah.
So I normally don't have caffeine at all. I have decaf tea. I never have coffee. But for this one, I'll have... I've got Optimum Nutrition, sort of like an electrolyte, vitamin B, caffeine drink. And I have an electrolyte powder, I think, with a bit of caffeine in. And that will... And it sounds annoying, but I have to really think about when I'm going to go to the toilet.
Yeah.
Because if it's halfway through the swim... I'm in a lake. I'm like, so then I got to get out, take the wetsuit off, go to the loo, come back. You're wasting 20 minutes. Even if it's on the bike and you're in the middle of nowhere, what do you do? So ideally, if I have a bit of caffeine in the morning, it kind of just gets things going. And I'd like to somehow work out that my bowel movements. This is the stuff that's taking up my brain space at the moment. It's like,
try
when
and time
am I
it.
going to poo?
Yeah. When are you go?
But it'd be nice if I can do it in the morning before I get on the swim.
Flush the system out.
Yeah. So I've been taking some digestive enzymes and some probiotics, and because I also have a yeast intolerance as well, so I can't have anything that's baked, except my wife's banana bread, which is my rocket fuel. Oh, it's so good, because she doesn't use yeast to make it. So yeah, so just getting the gut working is it's half one of my many battles in my head.
You've got a few obstacles in front of you, but if anyone can sort of take it on, having known you and followed you for quite a while now and seen what you've done, it's super exciting. And
I'm excited.
From me, just a massive thank you for inviting me down here, for welcoming Rob and I into your home.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming all the way down.
Your office is awesome. The memorabilia, the books, and obviously you said 7 books. There's obviously so many more.
Although there's one we don't talk about. 6 I've written.
Oh, there's 6 books, is there?
Yeah, 6 books. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a story there?
It's on that shelf. I'll show you afterwards.
Okay, show me afterwards. Well, I like that we're taking photos earlier than you hold the complete works of Shakespeare to look windswept and interesting. Yeah, I like that. Sean, this has been an absolute pleasure. I wish you every success. You can tell me when you want this released, because I'm excited to tell the world what you're going to be taking on.
I'm umming and ahhing. It might be the day before. Why not?
Oh, hey,
that'd be fun.
We'll just
be
keep
like, or just on the morning.
We'll keep it. Are we going to tag the Iron Cowboy, James?
Yeah,
Lawrence?
I'll message him. I'm going to message him privately before, if he reads it. I mean, he's got so many followers, he may not even read it.
So he definitely doesn't know I exist. So
He will soon. He
yeah.
is going to get
I hope
that.
he comes and joins me. Yeah, that'd be fun.
That'd be awesome.
an honour. Yeah.
We should sit on a podcast. I'll set it up. You should sit on a podcast after
Yeah,
it, and
yeah.
you should both dissect how it went,
Yeah.
pros, cons, good bits, bad
I'll
bits.
be like, I told you should have done some run training.
Yeah. Sean, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. Wish you every success.
Thanks very much, mate.